Hello bellezas, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Now with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Everybody, happy Friday. Hello, welcome back. Today, as you can tell, I'm going to be sharing some scary stories that took place in Mexico. I found this really cool website that has a bunch of ghost stories from Mexico that people have submitted to this website. So I'm really excited to read these for you guys and share these with you guys, because I always feel like, and I always say this in every single video, oh my gosh, I'm a broken record, I just realized that right now. I always think that Mexico for some reason has this kind of aura, this kind of strange vibe to it when it comes to the supernatural. And I don't know if it's because we as Mexican people are very superstitious for the most part and religious at the same time. We do kind of believe in spirits and souls and stuff like that, depending on, you know, your religion. But I feel like the land, of course, like much of the world, has an extensive history and an extensive background of different dark parts of history, and because of that I feel like that's why we are so rich in these kinds of experiences. So there is always somebody in your family that has a story or knows a story of somebody else and what they experienced living in Mexico, or like family that they have down there, and they all get told down the line when you're growing up. They get passed down basically, because as you guys know, a lot of my channel was put together because of the scary stories that my mom would share with me and her experiences, and then me sharing it here on YouTube with you guys, and you guys really loving that kind of atmosphere because it's so nostalgic. And I love laying down in bed with my mom and having her tell me scary stories, because I used to ask that from her every single night when I was young, and I feel like that kind of grew the love of paranormal things in me, and it kind of instilled that in me as well. So thanks to my mom for that one, because that's why I'm so into all the creepy stuff that you can think of. But anyway, enough chit chat from me. Let's get into the stories. I'm gonna read a few here from this website, and then you guys let me know if this is something that you would like to continue seeing here on the channel. And as well, if you stay all the way to the end, me and you can chat a little bit afterwards about these stories and about anything else that I can think of. So stick around to the end, you guys. Alright, let's get into story number 1. Alright, and this first story is titled A Nightmare and a Farewell. SV, that's one of the people in this story. SV became part of my extended family after marrying my second cousin, RM. I was in my awkward early teenage years and didn't care for him, especially since my relatives closer to him described SV as a snobbish and uppish person. For these reasons, my interactions with him were reduced to the most basic civilities during the occasional family reunions both of us attended. All of this changed a few years later when I decided to continue my education and joined the faculty of chemistry in the public university. SV's alma mater, I think that's a fraternity, I have no idea, which instantly gave us a common ground to talk about when we were together. Little gossip and updates about some of my then professors whom had been his classmates years earlier. We used to exchange our experiences and funny adventures during lab sessions and long hours of arid calculus, lots of things I don't know, and organic chemistry lessons. It became normal for us to spend most of the time together at birthday parties, christenings, and other family reunions. By those days, RM and SV have had 3 children. After I finished university and began working, he went to meet me a few times after work, and we would ride the subway together and take our own way at one of the transfer stations. Although his conversation was always pleasant and entertaining, at some point I began to wonder if all he used to tell me was true, or if he had the habit of embellishing his anecdotes, in which he was always faster, intrepid, better, etc. Once he mentioned to have driven at excessive speed and doing a record time of 1 hour between two cities in southern Mexico. Since I had never been to that area, I believed what he said. In October 1990, I traveled to this area of the country and went to those cities. There's roughly a distance of 400 kilometers between them. At that point, I began questioning what SV had told me. One night, I had an upsetting nightmare in which I was walking through a long aisle in a hospital heading towards the nurse's station. There were several closed doors on both sides of the aisle, except for one door to my left that was slightly open. As I approached it, I saw two little lights floating against the black background and a skeletal hand beckoning me through the crack between the door and the wall. Although I didn't see any facial features, I knew it had to be a skeleton. The vibe it gave me was negative, and in my dream, I recoiled at its sight and walked as close as possible to the wall on the right side. I knew this figure was inviting me, perhaps even daring me to see whatever there was behind that door. I woke up sweating and upset, got up with a bad feeling, but forgot about it as I followed my daily routine. At around 2 p.m. that day, close to the end of my workday, I began thinking about SV, and at the same time, feeling his presence right beside me. I decided that the next time I saw him, I would tell him that I didn't believe he had driven such a distance in such a short time. Unfortunately, the evening of that day, we got a phone call letting us know that SV had passed away in the afternoon in the hospital of a city in northern Mexico. He was with his wife trying to get to Mexico City in order to be with their eldest child on her birthday that same day. He had a massive heart attack and had to go to a hospital, but it was too late and he passed away around 2 p.m. The day of his wake, I felt remorseful and sad, thinking that he came to say goodbye, and the only thing I did at that moment was to remember his little white lie. Oh my god! What a turn of events, oh dear. Can you imagine that, where you're like, oh, it's like there had to be some kind of premonition or just like a feeling, because obviously it hadn't happened yet. So that's the thing. So she said that he passed away at 2 p.m., but she had already had that dream in the middle of the night. And she then went to work and had her whole thing happen, and her work day at 2 p.m. So I don't know if she had, so it had to be more of a premonition that a goodbye, unless he had already kind of passed to that side after having the heart attack and then afterwards, actually passed away. Crazy story. Oh my god. And I like how it's just sort of in Mexico, and it's like not really something that happened because they were in Mexico. It just happened to be that they lived there, but still very, very intriguing, very interesting. I really like that story. Let's get on to the second one. And this one is called I Saw the Devil at Night. This is my third story of when I was about 8 years old, visiting my grandpa and his housekeeper in the slums of Mexico. I haven't read any of the other stories, by the way, just so you guys know. There is some backstory, and I want to give a good description of the neighborhood this takes place in. My grandpa's house is an old red brick and cement, single-story square house, with a road in front running parallel. This gray brick road has a cement walkway on each side. There are similar looking houses in front and beside my grandpa's house. If you stand at the front door looking towards the road, across the street to the right side, there is an 8-foot-tall red brick wall and a giant mansion that looks like the Alamo building. The windows are open archways with no glass. It is 3 stories tall and is L-shaped and is the corner house. It stands abandoned for some time, and my cousins have gone inside and had a scary encounter. I tagged along, but that is another story. I wake up late at night in the cot bed and I look around the room. I feel wide awake as I look towards the fogged up window with the street light shining through. I feel the urge to find my older brother around age 15 who hangs out with his cool cousins on the left corner of the block. I open the door and walk towards the front door. It's not locked, so I open it and step outside on the sidewalk. There is the sound of a slightly busy city, but there is no one on the street. The stars are out tonight. I feel excited and start running left in the middle of the brick road. I get closer to the corner store where my brother hangs out, but it looks closed. I stop and turn around and run back towards my grandpa's house. I think maybe he's gone the other way to the right of my grandpa's house. I start to get a little nervous as I pass my grandpa's house. I can see the giant brick gate of the mansion on my left-hand side. The road is dimly lit up with a warm yellow glow from the street lamp. The lights seem to be spaced out because there is a dark section as I walk. The road begins to go uphill. I see someone standing at the top of the hill in the center of the road. My eyes adjust as I get closer. It is a silhouette of a tall man wearing a large hat shaped like a flat mariachi hat. The figure is pitch black on the road, standing still. I see the glowing red eyes staring back at me. I feel the evil and believe it's grinning at me. I turn around and run back towards my grandpa's house. I close the door and jump into bed and fall asleep as soon as I lay down. I never told my family about the encounter as I felt it would spoil the good time we were all having while visiting. I believe it was the devil that night, and after some research, others have had a similar experience, seeing a dark figure wearing a large hat. Oh my gosh! Ugh! No, thank you. And then also it reminds me of El Charro. Like, I don't know if that could be another entity that could have been what you saw. Like, it's a possibility, because obviously that's a urban legend from Mexico. I don't think I've ever covered it here, but it's the same thing. It's kind of like I might have, actually, I don't really remember, but it's kind of the same thing where it's like a guy wearing a mariachi hat and like a full mariachi attire, but he has like a skeleton face and like sunken eyes that are like just pitch black. So I don't think it was that specific entity, since they did say that it was a glowing red eyes. So who knows? Still super creepy, and I can't even believe that they were able to run back home and just fall asleep like that. I mean, granted, they are like young, so at that age it's kind of like you get scared from something, but it kind of rolls off your back and you're like, anyway, let's move on from that. I don't know what that was, but I'm not gonna linger on it because I'll just end up getting more scared, because that's kind of how I was when I had my experiences at a young age. Good story. All right, so let's go ahead and get into story number 3. This one is titled Knock Knock Push Push. This already sounds creepy. Here is my story. I have 2 cousins who tell me that they hear things around their house. They have felt things as well. Sometimes it's hard to believe this stuff if you never live it. They have knocked on their door and done some other stuff. I really didn't believe them until I went to their house. One time I was relaxing on my cousin's bed, just using my phone, when all of a sudden I felt someone push me from under the bed. I really felt someone push me from under the bed. I thought it could have been my imagination or something like that, but I felt it again. I thought it was my nephew playing a joke on me, but no one was around. I got up and just left the room. I told my cousin about it and he said, "You get used to it. Sometimes I feel like someone touches me at night. They grab my arm or sometimes just touch me." For him, it was completely normal. One time my cousin was relaxing on her bed, just listening to music, when all of a sudden she felt someone sit next to her. She got scared, she told the thing to leave her alone and to leave. Seconds later, she felt the thing get up and it left. One time she was on her bed watching a movie with her daughter and son, Earlier that day, her brother had told her that he was going to watch a movie with them. Later that night, as they were watching the movie, she heard a knock on her door, and she said, "Bro, come in." She waited, and her brother didn't come in. The next day, she had asked her brother if he had knocked on the door. He told her, "No, I fell asleep. I was going to watch a movie with you guys, but I completely fell asleep in my room. Sometimes I get goosebumps at night when I visit them." Oh my gosh, that is so creepy. But this definitely feels like it's something that seems like it's curious and it's kind of just taunting them a little bit. At least it's not a negative spirit, because I feel like that would just ultimately make things even scarier. But I definitely would not want to experience anything like this. And this is also like set in Mexico, but they don't really say like where. I'm guessing the author is the one that visits the cousins in Mexico, and that's where they reside, because it seems like maybe they don't live in Mexico with them or in that same area with them. Very good story. All right, let's go and get into story number 4. This one is titled, "He Turned into Light." I met JR in December 1991 at the Christmas party of the company we both were working for. Since he lived and worked in northern Mexico, our interactions were limited to a few times a year, in which the employees from the central office in Mexico City and the ones from the satellite provincial offices got together for some special occasion or another. JR, I'm going to call him Junior instead of JR. Junior and I had a chance to spend some time together when I went to give a 3-day course to the personnel of the clinic laboratory in a hospital in the city of La Paz. And Junior stayed to learn the practical part of a new technology. At the end of the day, we spent the afternoon talking about everything while seated on a bench facing the ocean. Once the course was over, he went back to the city where he lived, and I changed my plane ticket in order to spend the weekend visiting some of the attractions of the city, and took a boat tour that included snorkeling and swimming with seals. It was at this tour where I met a nice Canadian tourist that would become my pen pal for some time, and eventually we decided to start a semi-long distance relationship. When Junior heard about my boyfriend, he would tease me whenever we got together by saying, "Glow, thanks to me, you got a boyfriend." Months later, I got engaged, and when Junior saw the diamond on my finger, he was all over himself because, thanks to him, Glow was going to have a husband. One day in February 1995, someone called the company to let us know that Junior had been in a car accident and died at the scene, leaving behind a pregnant wife and a little girl of about 2. Shortly after his death, I began dreaming about Junior frequently, although not always the same dream. He was invariably lurking from behind a half-open door or from a next room. I knew that he wanted to tell me something, but he couldn't because within my dream, he was already dead, and other times it was me who had died and he was still alive. These dreams were unnerving, and I would wake up tired and upset. It was the end of April, and I decided to talk to Junior the next time I dreamt about him, and I did it. When I saw him, I walked to him and said, "Junior, I'm very sorry for what has happened to you, but I don't want to see you in my dreams again," and offered my hand to him. Kind of rude. We shook hands, and his body began disintegrating before my eyes while radiating a beautiful white light, brighter and brighter until the only thing left was his outline in the middle of an explosion of thousands of dazzling shards of light. Little by little, my hand became empty, and a sense of peace overcame myself, and I woke up rested and feeling good. That was the last time I dreamt about Junior. Over the years, I have wondered if this dream was a visitation or if it was only a way of coping with the shock of his unexpected and untimely death. Perhaps I was upset facing the uncertainty of a future one tends to take for granted, but that in reality is as fragile as the wings of a butterfly. To be honest, his death made me sad, but didn't feel like a loss. It's hard to miss a person that hasn't been part of your daily life. Neither I think he needed of my permission to move on, nor he had a final message to tell me during our last encounter. I have come to think that perhaps Junior only wanted to wish me a happy life. Oh my god, I did not expect that story to be so sad and like heartwarming at the same time. Like, of course, she sees it as something that just kind of probably was in her subconscious, and she just so happened to start having these dreams after he passed away, especially because it seemed like they had a kind of light relationship that wasn't going on for very long. They saw each other occasionally. He still found them like close enough to kind of tease her about finding her boyfriend and then future husband, and he's just kind of friend through, I guess, maybe text messaging and through work. So like a coworker that you're not really close to, but I mean, it still would be very sad to have that happen to you, because it is something that someone that you happen to cross paths with. But I really like that story, even though it wasn't like exactly scary. It was just a paranormal experience that somebody had that just happened to turn out in a sad and devastating way. But I really appreciate this person sharing it with us and sharing this kind of experience and kind of having us be like, what do you guys think this was? Was it a final message that he had to tell them, or just wanted to say goodbye one last time? Very good story. I really like that one. Oh my gosh, that one made me sad. A pregnant wife and a 2-year-old, that is so devastating. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into story number 6. And this one, I think, is going to be our final one. And this one is titled Something in That Part of the House. My parents moved into their house in Mexico about 20 years ago. My mother made the move by herself. My father stayed behind in Seattle, tying some loose ends. I agreed to help my mom move and stay with her until my dad joined her, which was to happen in a span of about 2 to 3 months. My mom and I got to the house a day before the moving company was scheduled to arrive with all the furniture. That gave my mom enough time to hire some much needed help. That was the day we met Letty, who became my mom's housekeeper for the following 8 years. She was God-sent. She was hardworking, loyal, and knew just about everyone in the neighborhood. Letty helped us hire some men that helped us move all the heavy furniture while we unpacked all the boxes. It took the 3 of us about a week of hard work to get everything put away, but finally we were sitting in the living room, exhausted but basking in the glory of our accomplishment, when we started hearing noises coming from a home bar we had in the living area. This was a wooden bar like you see in taverns. It has 3 stools, wine bottle racks, shelves for wine, glasses, stemware, and has drawers in the back for cocktail utensils, as well as storage cabinets where we kept things like a blender, ice bucket, martini shakers, etc. Like I mentioned, everything was put away and in order. The first thing we thought was that maybe a rat had got in. We hadn't seen any evidence of rodents, but at the time it was the only thing that made sense. Letty got up and was heading towards the bar when suddenly we heard growling coming from the storage cabinet. The wine glasses started shaking and clinking. The cabinet door started slamming. It literally sounded like 2 wild animals were fighting in there. I was so terrified I couldn't even get up and run. I stayed there with my heart pounding, listening to my mother pray and scream. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. We were too scared to check. Letty, being the brave one, grabbed a broom and opened both cabinets and drawer doors. Nothing came out. No animals, nothing. Everything was untouched. We got out of the house and headed for the nearest church. Letty knew the priest and was able to get him to go back with us to bless the house. My mom and I slept in the same room for a few nights after that, too scared to be by ourselves. A few weeks later, my mom and Letty were digging in the front yard, working on a flower bed, when they came upon some jars. When they pulled them out, there was little rag dolls that had pins stuck to them, and other things that they could not make out. They didn't open the jars. Letty said she knew someone that would know how to dispose of them, so she took them with her. The place where they were digging is directly on the other side of the wall where the bar is. I don't know if this finding had anything to do with the incident a few weeks before, but it's a big coincidence that the noises were coming so close to where these weird objects were found. Everything was quiet for a while, nothing out of the ordinary. Then we hosted a party one day. I think it was a housewarming. There were only a few guests left, mostly family, and it was around 3 a.m. Some people were sitting on the bar stools, others were standing around the bar, talking and drinking, when suddenly a mirror/frame with the word bar that was hanging on the wall shattered. It didn't just crack, it shattered. Well, that was an immediate party pooper because everyone cleared out there real fast. One other time, my mother was walking around at night before bed, securing doors and windows. She had just made it back to her bedroom when she swears she heard glass breaking. She thought that all the wine and liquor bottles had fallen and shattered, but when she went to check, everything was in order. No broken glass. Upon inspecting, she noticed one of the windows next to the bar was open. This didn't scare her too much because there's bars on the window, so there is no way someone can get in, even with the window open. But she swears she had checked that window a few minutes before and it was closed. She thought that maybe someone had thrown a rock and shattered the glass, but there was no broken glass anywhere. She checked and the window wasn't broken. It was open, meaning someone had to slide it to open it. She says that it's possible she missed seeing the window open, but what was that loud noise she heard, like dishes breaking? When she shared this with the family, we told her that maybe the noise was coming from the outside, and with the window open, it sounded close. She was very adamant that the noise came from the inside. Another incident involving this home bar. I was randomly taking pictures of the house when I noticed something very strange was showing in a picture of the bar. One of the stools has a scary image. It looks like a devil with horns. I showed this to my family and they were all freaked out. My mom insisted that I delete the image from my camera. I never did. Problem is, I can't find the camera. I only take pictures with my phone now, but I'm searching and I will upload if I find it. The image is very clear. It's not distorted. You can see it without anyone telling you what to look for. What I do have is a lot of pictures of family and friends sitting at the bar, and on a few of them you can see orbs. I don't want to share those because of privacy, and because orbs can mean just about anything. I've tried taking pictures of the bar with my phone. I don't get anything anymore. The house has been quiet lately. I've done a lot of cleansings and blessings. It will stay that way for a while and then suddenly, for some unknown reason, it wakes up again. By the way, I will submit a story about Letty at a later time. She turned out to be a bruja, or witch. She showed me a lot of things that I cannot explain and would like to know what you all think. Oh my god. Dude, that was such a crazy story, and honestly, a good thing that they literally had Letty there, because it seemed like she was the one getting things done when they needed to get done. She was like, I know what to do about these weird jars with all this stuff in it, and I'm gonna call a priest, and I know everybody in the neighborhood. The thing is that if she knew everybody who was there, maybe she knew whoever put those jars there that used to live in that house before they moved in there. And of course, if she does have a follow-up story on Letty, then that means that maybe that could be tied into the story that Letty probably knew about the previous owners and like what their whole deal was about and why this house is potentially haunted, and you know, the majority of that paranormal activity happening at the bar. Like, mind blown. That was such a good story. And the little plot twist about Letty letting y'all know, oh, by the way, I'm a witch. And of course, being a witch or a bruja doesn't automatically mean something negative. She could practice in a different way that we don't know about because she didn't share it on this. But I really enjoyed the story. It's just very unfortunate that this is something that they continuously have to deal with. And it seems to me like she also says that she has to constantly cleanse and bless the house, meaning that they have breaks between the paranormal activity, but then they have to go back and do a cleansing again or bless the house again, have somebody go through it. Maybe Letty at some point, seems like they've been with her for 8 years now, but maybe at some point she'll figure out the root or the cause of this, unless it's just an entity that's not willing to move on. And if there's not really any harm happening, I guess it's not that dire of a situation, other than the image of a devil appearing on the bar stool, which I would love to see, but it seems to me like she has not found that picture, unfortunately. But that would be very, very interesting. And yeah, guys, that is going to be the last story. And I know that I said I was going to chit chat with you guys for a little bit at the end of the video, but it's already like 30 something minutes long, 37 minutes, and I only have like maybe 5 more minutes of storage on my camera, because I was like, I didn't have a new SD card, so I had to delete a bunch of my footage from my trip to California in order to be able to film a couple of videos on the camera, but I didn't get rid of enough clips, so that's why I probably can't chit chat for very long here. But I feel like I don't have very much going on. If you guys want to check out my vlog channel, I am doing some vlogs over there. I'm updating about this 2-week fitness challenge that I have going on, because I had dropped off for a couple of months off of my workout routine. I started getting lazy again and not wanting to wake up, and I think that was because of the transition between the summertime and the winter months. Like during this time of year when it's like cold and it's so dark in the morning, I don't feel like doing anything, and that's all on me, and it's just like an excuse that I have set as to why I stopped my routine. But now, after getting onto this 2-week fitness challenge, it kind of brought back that stamina that I needed and that motivation to keep up my workout routine and holding myself accountable by making the vlogs on it. Granted, I did have a couple of days that I missed that I am making up for, just because we had some stuff going on here in my apartment, which if you guys want to hear about that, I'll be posting that on my vlog channel as well, along with the updates for that 2-week challenge. But other than that, everything has been going pretty well. I'm enjoying making videos for my vlog channel, and I'm trying to pick stuff back up here on my paranormal channel as well. But yeah, guys, that's it for me. My little camera memory thing is beeping at me. It's like flashing at me. It's like, you're done, girl, shut the hell up. But if you did make it all the way to the end of this video, make sure to leave a little Mexican flag emoji. That way I know who stayed all the way to the end, because not a lot of people do, and I also really, really appreciate it. And as always, me and you are besties, of course. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye. Sorry if that was rushed. I gotta go.